She is tolerable, I suppose. But not handsome enough to tempt me. It was very wrong of him to speak, sir. Indeed it was. Capital offence.
Well, I've heard much of you, and none of the praise has been exaggerated, I assure you.
I can well believe that. Mr. Darcy is my severest critic.
Both to Mrs. Collins.
Can you tell me why Mr. Darcy keeps staring at me? What do you think offends him?
She so benevolently presides.
I hope that your family is in good health.
Thank you, yes. My sister has been in town these 3 months. Have you never happened to see her?
No. No, I have not had that pleasure.
Mr. Darcy, now you see you're not the best of friends.
Well, I'm very surprised to hear that.
Why should you be? I always believe in first impressions, and his good opinion once lost is lost forever. So you see it as a hopeless case, is it not, Colonel Fitzwilliam? Do you mean to frighten me, Mr. Darcy, by coming in all this state to hear me? But I won't be alarmed. My courage always rises with every attempt to intimidate me.
I know you find great enjoyment in professing opinions which are not your own.
Your cousin would teach you not to believe a word I say, Colonel Fitzwilliam. That is ungenerous of him, is it not?
It is indeed, Darcy.
Impolitic, too, for it provokes me to retaliate and say somewhat of his behaviour in Hertfordshire which may shock his relations.
I am not afraid of you.
What have you to accuse him of? I should dearly like to know how he behaves among strangers.
First time I ever saw Mr. Darcy was at a ball where he danced only 4 dances, though gentlemen were scarce and more than one lady was in want of a partner. I'm sorry to pain you, but so it was.
I can well believe it.
I fear I am ill-qualified to recommend myself to strangers.
Shall we ask him why? Why a man of sense and education who has lived in the world should be ill-qualified to recommend himself to strangers?
I have not that talent which some possess of conversing easily with strangers.
I do not play this instrument so well as I should wish to. But I have always supposed that to be my own fault, because I would not take the trouble of practicing.
You are perfectly right. You've employed your time much better.
No one admitted to the privilege of hearing you could think anything wanting.
We neither of us perform to strangers.
Mr. Darcy. Mrs. Collins and Maria are just now gone into Hunsford Village with my cousin. You find me all alone this morning, Mr. Darcy.
I beg your pardon, I would not wish to intrude upon your privacy.
I was just writing a letter to my sister Jane in London, that is all.
Oh.
Mr. Bingley and his sisters were well, I hope, when you left London?
Perfectly, sir, thank you.
I understand Mr. Bingley has not much idea for ever returning to Netherfield.
It is probable that he may spend very little time there in the future.
If he means to be there but little, it would be better for the neighbourhood that he should give up the place entirely.
I should not be surprised if he were to give it up as soon as any eligible purchase offers. It seems a very comfortable house. Lady Catherine, I believe, did a great deal to it when Mr. Collins first came to Hunsford.
I believe she did. I'm sure she could not have bestowed her kindness on a more grateful recipient.
Mr. Collins appears extremely fortunate in his choice of wife.
Yes, indeed he is. Though seen in a prudential light, it is a good match for her as well.
It must be very agreeable to her to be settled within so easy a distance of her family.
Easy distance, do you call it? It's nearly 50 miles.
And what is 50 miles of good road? Yes, I call it a very easy distance.
Here in far relative terms, it is possible for a woman to be settled too near her family.
Yes, exactly. You would not wish to be always near Longbourn, I think. I shall trespass on your time no longer. Please convey my regards to Mrs. Collins and her sister. No, please don't trouble yourself. Forgive me, I hope you're feeling better. In vain I have struggled. It will not do. My feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you. In declaring myself thus, I am fully aware that I will be going expressly against the wishes of my family, my friends, and I hardly need add my own better judgment. The relative situation of our families is such that any alliance between us must be regarded as a highly reprehensible connection. Almost from the earliest moments of our acquaintance, I have come to feel for you a passionate admiration and regard, which, despite all my struggles, has overcome every rational objection, and I beg you most fervently to relieve my suffering and consent to be my wife.
I have never desired your good opinion, and you have certainly bestowed it most unwillingly.
I might wonder why, with so little effort at civility, I am rejected.
And I might wonder why, with so evident a desire to offend and insult me, you chose to tell me that you like me against your will, against your reason, and even against your character. Was this not some excuse for incivility if I was uncivil? Do you think any consideration would tempt me to accept the man who's been the means of ruining the happiness of a most beloved sister?
I did everything in my power to separate my friend from your sister, and I rejoice in my success. But perhaps these offenses might have been overlooked had not your pride been hurt by the honest confession of the scruples which had long prevented my forming any serious design on you. Had I concealed my struggles and flattered you? Nor am I ashamed of the feelings I related. They were natural and just. Could you expect me to rejoice in the inferiority of your connections? To congratulate myself on the hope of relations whose condition in life is so decidedly below my own?
You're mistaken, Mr. Darcy. The motive of your declaration merely spared me any concern I might have felt in refusing you had you behaved in a more gentlemanlike manner. You could not have made me the offer of your hand in any possible way that would have tempted me to accept it. From the very beginning, your manners impressed me with the fullest belief of your arrogance, your conceit, and your selfish disdain for the feelings of others. I had not known you a month before I felt you were the last man in the world whom I could ever marry.
You have said quite enough, madam. I perfectly comprehend your feelings. And now I've only to be ashamed of what my own have been. Please forgive me for having taken up your time and accept my best wishes for your health and happiness.